This season's going all wrong very, very quickly, isn't it? We've gone from pre-season expectation, thinking that, we might be looking at automatic promotion, we might be one of the contenders. We've gone from belief in a style of play, potentially being more exciting to watch, maybe one that's going to score goals and see lots of excitement and fun happening at Bramall Lane. And that's not where we are today. That's not where this season has taken to us. So Saturday's 1-0 defeat to Charlton marked United's 8th consecutive competitive defeat, going all the way back to the playoff final at the end of last season. That is the joint worst run in Sheffield United's history. We've started the championship season with 6 consecutive championship defeats. We've only scored 1 goal and we have conceded a lot. That is the joint worst run that anyone has ever had to start a season in the championship. And because of the goal difference, technically, we have had the worst start that anybody has ever had to a season in the championship. Of the 3 teams who have previously started a championship season with 6 defeats in a row, only one has ever avoided relegation. Everybody else has gone down. The only team that has ever avoided relegation from a start this bad was our neighbours across the city back in 2007-2008, when they managed to stay up despite losing each of their first 6 games. Even their record-breaking terrible start 2 years ago, they had a point by this point of the season. And that's the context for this video, because this video today is, so far, Sheffield United have had statistically, just forget everything else, statistically, Sheffield United are one of the all-time worst teams to have started a season in the Championship. And based on the stats I've just given you about the other teams who have been in this, Sheffield United are potentially in a relegation battle. And Chris Wilder has a huge job on his hands to try and turn this around from here. Not just, I think we can forget anything grander than, I'd just quite like to see us be competitive. I'd quite like to see us be a team who are competent enough to compete with teams in the Championship. Saturday's game against Charlton, we were playing one of the favourites for relegation. We were playing a team who is going to be down there in the bottom 6. And if we're truly honest with ourselves, we did not lay a glove on them. This was a game that we should have been targeting without a shadow of a doubt. Even if Sellers had still been in charge, this should have been a game we targeted to get ourselves off the mark and start to have some positive progress in our season. And was the performance a little bit better? Well, it was definitely a bit better than what we saw against Ipswich. Yeah. It was definitely a bit better than what we saw against Millwall. Yeah. But other than that, it felt familiar. It felt like more of the same. It felt like another time watching Sheffield United, who are never going to score a goal. I honestly could not tell you how we will ever score a goal. And yet we always seem to look like we're going to concede one. Even in an improved defensive performance, we had to go through numerous mistakes from different players where Charlton could have hurt us. It only took a fantastic save from Michael Cooper in the first half to keep it 0-0 until the 90th minute when they did finally make that breakthrough. So there's lots of things wrong, but let's think about what are the biggest things? What are the biggest problems that Chris Wilder has to address and has to fix to try and turn this season around for United? So the first one and the biggest one for me, this is the one that affects everything else. Maybe other bits aren't as bad. Maybe we get better in other areas if you can solve problem number 1, and that is confidence. That is by far the biggest issue facing this team, and it was so obvious playing that game against Charlton on Saturday that there is just a destructive lack of confidence running through this team. Every player is having to take an extra touch to what they normally would. They're not taking any risks on in terms of the passes that they're choosing to play, in terms of what they're doing with the ball at their feet, trying to beat their man, take it forward. It is holding us back massively that nobody has the confidence to take those risks. Going forward, we are lacking creativity, yes. And there are structural issues, yes. But nothing is having a bigger impact than the fact that we're just scared of losing the ball. Nobody wants to try and play that daring through ball. Nobody wants to get the ball at the feet and run at their man to try and beat him down the wing because they don't truly believe that it's going to work. They don't truly believe that pass is going to make it, that they're going to beat their man and go ahead. And they're a little bit scared. Everybody's playing within themselves. And that's a real problem for a team trying to get out of this mess. Because if you're not willing to take chances going forwards, you become safe. You become predictable. It becomes soft. And it becomes, if we're being honest, so easy to defend against. I made a little bit of a comment on this in my match reaction, but if it's I'll get the ball and I'll take 2 touches. Who's not got a man stood anywhere near him? I'll pass the ball to you and you can take 2 touches and maybe they'll know him. I'll still be free. So you can pass it back to me and I'll pass it to you. And there's no way of going forwards. Because then as soon as you do go forwards, the opposition are fully set. They've got their lines organised. They've got their man marking in position. Somebody has to do something special to create a goal because you've been so slow in your build-up. You've got to be faster. The only way it gets faster is with confidence. The only way you get confidence, who knows? Honestly, how do you get confidence in this team? You've got to win a game of football. Don't know how you're going to do it, but at some point you've got to win a game of football. But it's not just going forwards where we're seeing that just being completely drained from the team, because it's also defensively. Even in an improved performance like the one at the weekend, there was at least 2-3 times where McGuinness charged forward to win his header, completely mistimed his jump, and it's bouncing through behind him. There was a moment where Tanganga got the ball, went to go forwards. There's no movement around him. He himself isn't sure what to do, loses the ball. They're coming at us again. Peck did the same, falling over in our own half, where they're able to get forward. These are errors that just come repeatedly as a result of a lack of confidence, as a lack of options coming in front of you. And it's something that Wilder has to fix, because a team drained of confidence becomes a team completely drained of any ability. We need a goal. We need a win. Until we get the juices flowing in this team, everything else we talk about, every other bit that we start to try and think, how can we fix this? How can we fix that? We can't fix any of it unless Wilder can find a way to inspire this team, to get some confidence out of this team, and hopefully to get a performance out of this team that we desperately need. So that is problem number one. And it's not an easy one to fix, but we know that Wilder has the man management to do it. Hopefully he can be the one who drags us out of this rut and gets each of those players believing in themselves and believing in each other, which will finally get us a result. The second biggest issue that is facing the team at the minute is one entirely of our own making. And when I say of our own making, I of course mean of our ownership's making. It's the midfield. We need to have a serious conversation about this midfield, because last season we built a midfield and our entire team was built around the fact that we had a midfield that was functional, that was effective, that had a physical destructive point right in the middle of it. He could cover behind the fullbacks whenever they went forward because he had pace and energy to make sure he was always getting in behind. Whenever he had a one-on-one battle, maybe he got exposed against a defender, you would back him to win it 9 times out of 10 because he was strong, he was fast, and to be honest, he was just better than most of the people he was up away against. He loved keeping the ball away from our net. That's what we had. But we lost 𝗣𝗍𝗲. He went off to join Wolfsburg earlier in the season. And actually, it wasn't earlier in the season. I've actually taken a note of the date because it's important when you want to think about this. July the 5th. 𝗣𝗍𝗲 left Sheffield United on July the 5th. We didn't sign a central midfielder at all until August the 4th. A month later, we brought in 𝗣𝗲𝗲𝗹𝗶. Yeah, that went well. We played him, obviously. He wasn't there in time to play against Bristol City when our midfield was completely overrun and might as well have just not been there with how easily they found it to play through us. We then went to Swansea where 𝗤𝗏 made his debut, and I thought he looked all right. Maybe he could have been the kind of player that we needed. He looked like he had something about him, but very quickly, both Wilder and Sellers have realised that 𝗤𝗏 is not good enough to fill that role or to play what we need. And so he disappeared again. And so we didn't see him. And he's not played in any of those following games. He barely got off the bench, only because Matos was knackered against Charlton at the weekend. So we signed somebody a month after we'd lost Sousa. We waited another month, and then we finally signed the player who looks like he's going to play most weeks, Alex Matos. By the point that Matos joined, we'd lost 4 out of 4 in the league, 5 out of 5 in all competitions. By the time that Matos joined, it had been 2 months from the date that 𝗣𝗍𝗲 had left. And by the time Matos joined, all of the confidence had been drained out of this football team. He was papering over the cracks of an issue that had been allowed to fester all the way through the summer by us not being proactive in our recruitment to make sure that we had somebody waiting in the wings, because we knew 𝗣𝗍𝗲 was going to leave. It was obvious as soon as we lost at Wembley. Why did it take us so long to have any kind of plan in place for his departure, to get somebody in to play his position in the team? And even now, I'm talking about Matos there as if he is the one. He will fix all of it. He won't. Because Matos and Peck are 2 20-year-olds. We're playing a central midfield with no experience. We're playing a central midfield without the physical attributes that actually allow you to earn the right to play football the way you want to in the Championship. They're still easily overrun. They're still easily dominated. If somebody comes up against them who's 6'5" and physical and plays a bit like 𝗣𝗍𝗲, they are going to be exposed and completely dismantled, for want of a better phrase. We've talked a little bit about Tom Davies coming back. Wilder's referenced him a lot in his interviews. He obviously sees him as being a really key player in terms of trying to get this United midfield to work again because of his experience, because of his know-how in terms of playing that role. But he's not a physical man. He's not going to come back in and address some of the issues we've got in terms of athleticism, in terms of height, in terms of defensive solidity. It's so easy to get through our midfield right now that you're playing directly against our back four so often. It also means that if at any point Godfrey or 𝗍 or Burrows go forward, there is such a huge gap behind them, because what Sousa did so well was sit deep, wait for Burrows to go and cover behind him. If they had a winger coming free, Sousa would be across like that. He would be immediately covering it, winning his tackle, putting it out for a throw-in, giving us time to find our shape. We don't have that right now. We were exposed so badly against Charlton, particularly down the right-hand side, whereas if Godfrey had tried to go, 𝗍𝗗 𝗵𝗵, the other 𝗍𝗗 𝗵𝗵, had all of the space in the world to get down that right wing. Now, we didn't get punished for it. No, we got away with it quite a lot at the weekend, but better teams will hurt us in those situations, in those transitions, and we need somebody. Either we need our defenders to just stay back and defend and say no more overlapping, or we need one of these midfielders to be able to assume that defensive cover role, and we just don't have the profile for it. So with the players at his disposal, you can fix the confidence and you can take that forward and you can try and make us a much better team, more functional, with players who believe in what we're doing. But the midfield, with the players at his disposal, I don't know how Wilder fixes this. I don't know how you look at this midfield, because the players that are available are the players that are available. They can play the roles that they can play, but you can't ask them to do something they're just not capable of. It's a squad-building disaster in terms of trying to replace what we had last season, and it's left us criminally exposed in terms of trying to win midfield battles. Maybe he needs to tweak the formation. Maybe he'll do what we've discussed for a few weeks, and he'll go back to playing 5 at the back so that at least we've got the extra defender in there, so that if the wing-backs do go, if there's not a midfielder capable of dropping in, we've still got an extra body there to hopefully help us go man-to-man and not be quite as easy to just get straight in towards a shot on goal, towards our own 18-yard box. Potentially that's the option, but it's a big one and probably tactically the biggest headache that Wilder has to try and solve. So that brings us on to the third of the big issues that I see facing the club right now, and that is our attack. And my word, our attack's awful, innit? Like, let's just take a minute and let that sit in. We've scored 1 goal so far this season. If you include the Carabao Cup, let's be generous, we've played 7 games, we've scored 2 goals. 1 of them is from our own half. Yeah. We're not creating chances. We're not able to take United forward. I mean, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I reckon I could have defended against United on Saturday. If you'd have put me in Charlton's back line, playing centre-half, I would have found myself having a pretty easy afternoon, because it is so slow and ponderous and predictable. I know every movement that a United player is going to make, on or off the ball, because it's easy. 𝗍𝗗 𝗵𝗵 just cannot get involved in the game at all right now. His movement is always in front of the defence. The only time he can get the ball with his back to goal, playing back towards the midfield, he's never getting it on the turn, he's never getting it in behind, because there's nobody able to play those passes to get him that opportunity. If he makes the run, nobody plays the ball, and so he stops making the run, and their defence can just breathe a sigh of relief and go, yeah, all right, we'll stand here, and nobody will be able to come through us. We changed it a bit against Charlton. We did. But let's just go back and look at the season as a whole, because prior to the Charlton game, the wings, please don't let me think about the wings, because it was just so idiotic the way that we were setting up. Barry plays on the left wing. Barry is right-footed. So Barry gets the ball and he goes, right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut inside and shoot. Okay, what if the defender doesn't let you cut inside and shoot? Are you going to go on your left foot? No, I'm going to cut inside and shoot anyway. I'll probably just lose the ball. Oh, right, okay. You've got any plans to work on that? Anything different? No, we'll do the same thing every single time, and at some point it'll work. Nope, didn't work at all, because it's so easy. It was the same for Brooks on the other side. He's left-footed, he's on the right wing. What's he going to do? I know, he's going to cut inside. His right foot is there for balance and nothing else, and so it just became so easy. You could just force the United wingers to the byline and go, there's no ball in the box. There's nothing the attackers are going to be able to play against. It's literally just a case of defend like a normal human being, stand there, and they cannot get around you because they have to go inside. It was a little bit different, I thought, against Charlton, because for the first time, I actually thought we had somebody who had a bit of proactivity about them. 𝗍𝗗 was probably the only bright spot of the afternoon that I saw in terms of being able to take us forward. And even that was probably only for the first 45 minutes. He was willing to commit his man and run at him. They didn't know if he was coming inside on his left foot, if he was going outside on his right foot. He had one fantastic run where he managed to pull about 3 players inside, where he managed to cut in on his left foot and play the pass. The reason he could do that is that he wasn't predictable, because most people expected him to go out the outside on his right foot, try to get the cross across the ball. It makes the defenders have to think about what you're going to do, and it means that it's really difficult to defend. You can't just show him one way, because if you do, he might go the other. It makes it difficult. It's proactive. It's trying to get the ball in the box. It creates a moment of chaos where, no, we've not got the right profile to be able to head it in if you whip across into the penalty spot, but it at least gives you a chance to create something. Maybe you win a second ball. Maybe the defenders make a mistake. There are opportunities there. He tired desperately in the second half. We need to get him up to full fitness. We need to, again, get some confidence into him, because at times he lacked that end product due to a lack of belief, potentially, in terms of the ball he was putting across the goal. Maybe it is a lack of quality, but it was at least something different that gave us something to think maybe there'd be a chance. Because if we're being honest, beggars can't be choosers. And right now, we are absolutely beggars. We haven't scored a goal in the last 8.5 hours of play in the Championship. 8.5 hours. Think of everything you could have done in that time. Had a good nap. Probably better than watching United. I could go on. Look, there's so many things that have been a problem right now. I think these are the 3 biggest issues in terms of the lack of confidence running through the team, the lack of any strength or fight in the midfield, the lack of any creativity or opportunities coming forwards, the fact that we're so predictable in terms of how we're ever going to score a goal. But I really could list so many different things. I mean, we could be talking about the lack of form in all of our key players and the fact that Harmer, Burrows, Campbell look like an absolute shadow of the players they were last season. We could be talking about the fact that we still don't have a decent right back, despite the fact that we sold Jayden Bogle 16 months ago, was it now? And we've still not replaced him. We could be talking about the fact that our centre-back partnership have known each other for all of 2 weeks and still look a little bit shaky. We could be talking about the fact that all of our striking options are exactly the same profile. It's just worse versions of the exact same player. So whenever you make a sub, you know it's not going to get better. It's just going to be the same, because nobody gives you anything different. We never replaced 𝗤𝗄 𝗲. We never looked for a different profile. We just created the same thing. There's no variation. We could be talking about the fact that we've got 2 massive 6-foot monsters at centre-half and still can't put a decent corner into the box. I could go on for a while, but the message is this. We've got to reset all of our expectations for this season. This is not a season that is aiming for promotion, because we are nowhere near the team that is ready to do that. We're barely a team that's capable of competing at the bottom, never mind trying to think about competing at the top. If we are truly and honestly breaking down who United are, we are a rubbish football team right now. A really poor Championship team. We've had the worst start to a Championship season that anyone's ever had. We're on the worst losing run in Sheffield United's history. It is a dogfight. It is a relegation dogfight. We are fighting to get out of a relegation battle, not thinking about anything else, because we have to get clear of that first and foremost. Luton last year were always too good to go down. They'll get out of it. They'll be all right. They'll get out of it. They'll probably be all right. We cannot afford to be thinking like that. We might not get out of it. We might not be all right. A lot has got to change. We have to start treating it seriously that we are in a real mess. And all of that, there's blame for 𝗍𝗫. There's blame for the owners, but there is a lot of blame on these players, and there is nowhere to hide now. Behind Ruben 𝗍𝗫, they had somewhere to hide. They could say, it's the manager's fault. And we all bought into it because he was clearly clueless. He was out of his depth. But they now have to step up. They have to fight and give everything they've got for United. They can't just chuck the towel in when times get hard and we go behind and go, oh, well, we'll lose again. Don't worry about it. Let's just ship 5. They can't give up. They can't sulk because they want their old manager back. Wilder is here now. He will improve this squad. He will hopefully make them care. He will make us competitive. But the players have to take the responsibility on their backs to deliver it on a Saturday. Wilder said it himself. You've got to have the nuts to go on a Saturday and prove that you deserve your place to play for Sheffield United. And those players right now have turned themselves into a laughing stock. And they've got to dig themselves out of the hole that has come. Wilder is not a magic bullet on his own. He's not just going to come in and magically fix all the problems. Because if I'm honest, I was naive. I thought he might. I thought we'd win on Saturday and we'd go on a great run and everything would be rosy. But it's not that. The players aren't good enough for that. Wilder isn't going to solve all of their problems because the problems run really deep. And the players have got to step up and make it count. They've got to do us proud and they've got to drag us out of this position that they've left us in right now. But it'll get better. It has to get better from here. It's the only way.